Welcome to the Soul Group meeting, everyone. Star Muse, good to see you, my friend. Sorry I'm late. Beth, welcome in. It's good to see you all. Hello, Melissa. Sorry I'm late, and sorry you guys have not seen me for so long. Welcome, Roy. Good to see you, my friend. I have been chomping at the bit these last 4 or 5 days trying to get this room completely finished, get it off of my plate, and I'm proud to say it's finally done. The last few days, the moment I woke up, I started working on that room, and there was a couple of nights in there I was working until 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. I am very grateful to be finished with that and have all of that in the past. Needed your soul fed today. Hopefully we can take care of that today, Star Muse. Either way, it is fantastic to be among our soul family and the energy. I love it. And thank you, Beth. I really appreciate that. Happy New Moon, Lotus Flower. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And thank you for the reminder. I have a very important intention to set tonight for the full or for the new moon, and I'm glad that you reminded me of that, because I've been so caught up in everything that I knew that I needed to set this intention this new moon, and I've been so busy today that it completely slipped my mind that today was even the new moon. So thank you. I appreciate that. So I hope everyone has been doing fantastic since the last time that we spoke and the last time that we were gathered together here in this space that is the Soul Group. If there happens to be anyone that this is your first time being here, welcome, my friend. This is a safe space for spiritually minded people to commune, to get together and share with each other. Thank you, Tweety. I appreciate that. Neighborhood astrologer. I am keenly interested in astrology, and I consider myself an amateur astrologer. I have a pretty good knowledge base with astrology, but I am certainly not a professional astrologer. What is a Magi? Excellent question. Hydraulic press talk. I like the name. It is very similar to a mage in the World of Warcraft in some regards. Magi is actually the root of the word magic. Magi is a group of individuals that goes back thousands and thousands of years, and that's actually where the term magic came from, is from this group of select individuals who were masters of their craft. They were God's warriors, and they were capable of doing feats that were seen as supernatural, and Jesus, or Yeshua ben Joseph, was one of those, by the way. But that's where Magi comes from. What house is the moon in? I have not looked at astrology in so long because I've been so caught up building my house. I think Gemini, someone might have to speak up there if I'm wrong, because I've been so far behind on that. Oh, my rising, I am at Aries rising, Aquarius sun, Scorpio moon, and I have two major stelliums. Jeez, I'm so tired. Stelliums in my chart. Almost every luminary in my natal chart is in two signs, Capricorn and Sagittarius. So it's in your third house. I believe that's actually, yeah, depending on where the split is, because I use Placidus. But anyway, it's either second or third house. Well, thank you, Star Muse. Much appreciated, my friend. Thank you, Roy. Much appreciated, my friend. So, I want to talk a little bit about astrology today before we get off of this live. But before I do that, there is something that's been on my mind since our last live, and I want to talk a little bit about that before I get sidetracked and I completely forget. On our last live, I was talking about the epiphany that I had, the major intuitive understanding about the way our consciousness shifts reality, the way that it actually changes the physical structure of matter. And there is scientific backing of this, by the way, such as the double slit experiment, that a particle will go on being a particle as long as we are observing it, but as soon as we look away, it goes back into being a wave of all possibilities. And then we look at it again and it morphs back into a particle. It is consciousness that is doing that. We are restructuring the physical material, the matter of our reality through our perception. And that was one of the main topics that we were discussing on the last live. And I talked about how, for me, this big epiphany was that everything is made of energy, right? If you look at it under a proper enough microscope, everything is energy, just vibrating at different intensities and frequencies. And if you go even deeper than that, everything is consciousness. So essentially, this vast pool of energy that makes up me and you, the books behind me, the birds, the air that we're breathing, everything is pure consciousness. And it is being restructured, the energy through vibration and solidifying into physical matter. And I use that to talk a little bit about some of the teachings of Yeshua. Thank you for the roses, Inner Light. Much appreciated. How Yeshua said things like, if you had but the faith of a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, go cast yourself into the sea, and it would be so. And I think the reason why things like that are so hard for us to wrap our mind around or believe is because we see the mountain as separate from ourselves. We see, the 500 million tons of granite sitting there. We don't see a writhing mass of conscious energy that is not separate from our own consciousness, other than the illusion of separateness that we are navigating life with, right? Anyway, this huge epiphany that I had is what the difference between Jesus or Yeshua and other people, pretty much everyone else, is that Jesus understood that he was not separate from the mountain. He knew that it was simply consciousness. And so he wasn't having to move 500 million tons or whatever of granite with his mind. He was having to change his mind. He had to shift his consciousness to understand that it was not physical, dense matter the way that we perceive it, so much as it was just energy. And so, of course, you can say, do this, and it will, because you're just talking to your own consciousness, basically. And I use the example of Neo in the movie The Matrix, one of my favorite movies of all time, by the way, where Neo is taken in and seated with the other hopefuls waiting to see the Oracle. And a small child is sitting there holding spoons, and they are bending. And there's a whole pile of bent spoons on the ground. And Neo sits down, he picks up an unbent spoon, and he's trying as hard as he can to bend it with his mind. Hello, Aaron. Good to see you. But he can't bend the spoon with his mind. And the child says, do not try to bend the spoon. That is impossible. Instead, only try to see the truth. And Neo's like, what truth? That there is no spoon. And the moment that Neo had that epiphany, that realization that everything was consciousness, that everything was connected, then the spoon bent because he experienced a shift in consciousness. So anyway, all of this just to lay the groundwork to tell you this is what I've been thinking a lot about since our last live. A question was brought up if someone said, okay, if all of this is true, then how come we don't see people moving mountains with their mind? How come those things never happen? And I gave my retort, my answer to that, and basically, it was something along the lines is because we don't believe that we can. But that really stuck with me, that question. I like those questions, right? Even when they challenge my own belief, my own faith, especially those. I like those. I like to wrestle with them. And here is what I have come up with, which has led me to another epiphany. One of the most telling stories in the entire synoptic gospels dealing with Yeshua, with Jesus. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate the friendship. Welcome, Kilo Mike. So Jesus had been performing all of these miracles, right? He had walked on the water. He had fed the multitudes. He had healed the sick, cured the blind, all of these things, right? Everywhere he went, people were receiving healing, even without his doing so. The lady on the road to Capernaum simply reached out and touched his garment, and she was healed. She had bled for months and months and months. And Jesus did not do anything, but she believed in him so strongly that she said, if I could just reach out and touch his robe, I know that I would be healed. And Jesus himself said, I did nothing. It was your faith that has healed you. Until he went back home. When Jesus went back home, he could perform no miracles. None. Null. Zero. Because why? I mean, if Jesus was this, not just an ascended master, but the master, if he had mastered all of these things, which he obviously had, what could possibly have prevented him from performing any miracles once he went home? It was the belief of everyone that he knew that he had grown up with. This wasn't a massive metropolis, right? This was a small village. This was somewhere where certainly everybody knew their entire history. They had an image of Yeshua built up within their own minds and their hearts of what he was and what he was not. What he was capable of doing and what he was not capable of doing. Every single one of those thoughts is a creation, right? Thank you so much for that, Aaron. That's I'm putting that in my smile file. Thank you so much, my friend. But my point is simply this. Thank you, Interlight, for joining the team. Much appreciated. It was not any failure on Yeshua's part to be able to perform any miracles once he went back home. It was the fact that everyone there had a working idea of what he was or was not capable of, and they were projecting that outwards. It wasn't simply that they did not believe in Yeshua as, an ascended master, performer of miracles, or the Son of God, or any of that. It was because they were all collectively projecting this image outward of what he was and was not capable of, what they believed him to be and what they believed him not to be. And so they could not see him as the Messiah, as all of the other followers that was present for all of the other miracles, right? That has a lot to do with why today we don't see people casting the mountain into the sea, why we don't see people walking on water. One little tidbit I want to share with you guys. Limited version. Exactly. For sure, Stormuse. I want to share a little snippet of a very powerful spiritual experience that I had 20 years ago. And this is the first time I've ever shared this. So, even you OGs who's heard me talk about this experience 100 times, you've not heard this part of it before. It's just a little detail, something that was thrown in there during this conversation that I have overlooked and I forgot to mention until this past week when I've been chewing over this in my mind. Hey, Melanie, good to see you from work. Hopefully you're not getting yourself in trouble as always. So, here's the Cliff Notes version for those of you who don't know what the heck I'm talking about. 20 years ago, out of the blue, I had a spontaneous, very powerful spiritual awakening. Thank you, Melanie. Basically, in a nutshell, what had happened is the woman that I was with, my ex at the time, while asleep one night, thank you, Melanie, she was completely unconscious, completely asleep, and I laid down next to her to go to sleep, and she began speaking in another language and sat up with her eyes closed. And I proceeded to have conversations with her higher self many, many times over the period of an entire year, face to face with her higher self. I was told about my past lives. I was shown past lives. I was shown a vision of the future, of our probable future from that time and the events that could possibly happen. Thank you, Melanie. Hello, Anna. As well as I was told about my calling. I was officially given directly by Spirit my calling, and I was told, this is why you're here in this life. It is of utmost importance you do this, this, and this. There's a whole lot of ground to cover there. Like I said, these conversations happen for hours at a time, multiple times a week for over a year. A whole lot of conversation happened, so I can't possibly hope to go over every single bit of that with you guys right now. But one of the things that I was told was that I was a Magi. That's how she always addressed me, as Magi, as a title, as opposed to using a name. And she said that I was God's warrior, and that being a master of magic was what I had dedicated my lifetimes to, many lifetimes over, and that's also why I was here in this life. And I was asking questions about that, what that meant. I wish they would tell me. I was told I have to discover it. Bree, I want everybody to know this. This is not the norm. I have talked to thousands of people in the spiritual community. Never before have I ever met anybody who's had an experience like mine. This is not a normal, everyday experience. I do believe our callings are shown to us, usually through intuition, through synchronicities, through dreams, through things like that. However, Spirit needs to convey it. This was not the norm, though. Thank you, Innerlight. I appreciate that. Exactly, there is no norm. But I think this type of thing is more rare than not. So I definitely would not be discouraged if you don't have this type of experience. That's really all I'm trying to say there. You wouldn't believe mine in a million years. Lotus, you might be surprised what I would believe. You haven't heard a fraction of the story, of my story. I've seen far too much to be dismissive. It takes an awful lot for me to be so off-put by something that I can't consider a possibility. Okay. Excellent question, Charlotte. No. She had no recollection of these conversations, the person that I was with. Whenever she would awake, I would be like, oh my gosh, and she would be like, what are you talking about? It actually really weirded her out and scared her because she had no idea what was happening. I would tell her about, these super spiritual, in-depth conversations that we would have for hours, and she would have no recollection whatsoever. The only parts that she ever remembered were the visions. Whenever she had a vision that was shown to her, she would remember that very vividly. But the conversation, she did not. Okay. Many I knew then were shocked at me today. So, now that I've laid enough of a groundwork for you guys to understand what I'm saying, I asked a whole lot of questions about what a magi was, what that meant. What did it mean to be God's warrior? What did it mean to become a master of magic? All sorts of things, right? One of the things that I was told by Spirit is that magic operates differently today than it once did. And she kind of seemed a little bit lost at words to explain to me what was meant by that. She said that it had changed, it had been altered. Something about our physical reality had changed since many lifetimes past in the way that things operated. And whenever she said that, I was immediately reminded of one of my favorite stories. And as far as I know, this is a fiction story, right? But it was about Merlin, one of my favorite historical figures of all time, because Merlin was a historical figure. And according to the higher self I was speaking with, was also a magi, but she said peculiarly, I can't speak, he did not have the calling in that life, but his soul was a magi. Anyway, I read a story many years before this about Merlin, and he was observed sitting on his porch in a chair, just staring at the environment for days and days. And finally someone came up to him and they're like, "Why aren't you doing anything? Why are you just sitting there?" And he said, "You don't understand. I'm doing the most important job in the entire world right now." And they're like, "You're not doing anything. You're just sitting there." And he said, "No, I am perceiving reality. And by doing that, I am creating reality." And there was an understanding at a soul level whenever I read that what he meant was that everybody has a different lens of perception, right? I perceive the world differently than you perceive the world, than somebody on the other side of the planet. Every single person has a different lens through which all perception is filtered. Many different things color our lenses. Our upbringing, our background, our education, our experiences, our language, all of these things, our religion, they all color the lens that our perception filters through. Merlin would have had a very different lens through which he perceived the world. A very magical lens. One where everything was possible. One where the everything, from the mundane to the magical, was pure, absolute magic, right? From things that we take for granted, like plants blooming, the trees all communicating through their massive network, to, new life being born, whatever it was. He could see the magic in all of that. And through perceiving these things, he was breathing life to that way of being. Somewhere along the line, that was lost. That magical lens of perception was lost. It's starting to come back now, but somewhere along the line, our belief in myth and magic has faltered enough to where it operates differently today than it once did. At least this is what I was told by Spirit. It's not that these things are not possible anymore. All things are possible. But if you have 2 or 3 people out of 8 billion people who believe that you can say to this mountain, "Go cast yourself into the sea," and it will be so, how much does your energy have to work to outdo the beliefs of all of those around you who are saying you can't do that, right? Quantumly possible for sure. Welcome, Kate. It's good to see you, my friend. That's the other aspect. This is the other aspect of what I've been talking about and what I've been thinking about for the last week. Is Merlin knew at the time of his last incarnation that there was a tipping point coming, a battle that he fought his entire life to breathe life into the creatures of magic that are still there, by the way. But they operate in a different dimensional awareness than where we're at. And a lot of that is because of our beliefs, our lenses of perception that we are constantly creating the world around us through is very westernized, it's sanitized, and from a very concrete scientific point of view. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think that there's anything wrong with science. I love science. But traditional Western science does not recognize spirit. It has to subtract the 0-point energy field from every single physics equation in order to make it work. They literally subtract God from the equation to make their physics work. That is a problem for me. And that's why a lot of it doesn't make sense. And I think that it does the whole world a massive disservice in doing that. And it has contributed to the decline of miracles and magic. It's not that those things don't exist. It's not that they're not real. It's whatever we perceive as real. That's real. And so, first of all, I think as we move into the age of Aquarius, we're going to see a whole lot more of that coming back. We're already beginning to see it. But that is my full answer to the question. Well, if that is the truth, and you really could say, go cast yourself into the sea, to the mountain, and it would do so. If that really is the truth, then why is nobody doing that? I think it's a combination of things. We have lost sight of magic to an extent. It is all but faded in our world. Thanks to a few brave souls along the way, like Merlin and several others, it did not die out completely, because it is passed down generation to generation to generation through myth, through storytelling, and it is alive in our hearts and in our minds. But it is really, really close. Please tell me you're posting this on YouTube. I will, Aaron. I will post this. Guys, and I'm sorry, I got way off on this big topic that I'm really passionate about, speaking from my heart, and I know I missed a ton of your guys' comments, so please forgive me. I usually try my best to keep up with everyone's comments, but this was a really important topic I needed to get off my chest, so. So, if I could summarize all of that really succinctly, I think what I would say is the worlds that we hear about and read about in fairy tales, of fairies, of wizards, of unicorns and dragons and elves, all of that, first of all, Edgar Cayce said, are very real creatures. And they're still here. It's not something that once existed thousands of years ago and has died off. They're here, according to Edgar Cayce. But they live in different dimensions of consciousness. Excuse me. And not all of us are open to those dimensions of consciousness. And a lot of it has to do with our beliefs. Most of you guys have heard me say over and over again that I believe I know nothing. I wish that were the truth. I wish I had that level of confidence to say I know nothing. Because the truth is, when we know something, we make up our mind about what that is. I know this is selenite, right? My mind has a working definition of what selenite is. All of the little bits of pieces of information and data that I've ever come across relating to this and things like this, my brain says, yes, this fits inside that box. It is all of those things, but it is nothing else. That's what happens when you know something, right? You close your mind to any outside possibilities, such as this is a stick of very densely high vibrational energy that has certain qualities, such as yada yada yada, or any other information. Whenever we think we know something, we close our mind to any of those possibilities. Whenever the scientific revolution came around and we started to explore all of the world that there was no longer any unexplored realms, right? We knew everything. We had been everywhere that there was. There was no dragons. We didn't see them. There was no fairies. There was, nobody walking on water. None of those things have happened for hundreds, thousands of years, right? So it's absolutely false. There's no basis in reality according to that thinking and that mindset. That becomes a belief that we are creating as our reality. So, as always, my recommendation is to know nothing. And that makes education truly a precarious thing if you consider that facts that we are cramming down children's throats. They might be what we believe to be the truth, but might not necessarily be true. Certainly not the whole truth, right? I think the most important thing that we can do is learn to think critically for ourselves. That's why my personal motto is think for yourself, question authority. But all of those realms, all of the magic, all of the possibility and miracles are still there. They still happen all the time. The fairies are still here. We just got to tune into it. We've got to open up space in our hearts for that possibility, and they will make themselves known. I know people who have had experiences with certain mythical creatures, right? I am firmly convinced that all of those things are real. The only thing that keeps us from seeing them is their own limitations that we put in place based on our beliefs and things that we know. I'm going to try to get caught up with you guys real quick on the comments. Yes, but it's meant to. Everything is exactly as it should be. Subliminal programming, honeybee. Yeah, I'm sure that plays a huge role in this. Please read Illusions. I will look into that, Star Muse. Thank you. Yes, Aaron, I do believe you're right. I think that there was some channeling going on. I was definitely in the zone on that. It's a pivotal time, but we have over 100 years to go before the age of Aquarius. Lotus flower, I want to talk about that. Let me get through my comments, though. Yes, I am on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm on pretty much all of it. The easiest way to find all of that is if you go to my website, magirising.com. At the very top is an icon for all of the social media platforms that I'm on, and if you just click on them, it will automatically add you to them. Thank you for that, Mom. I appreciate you. We should speak from our hearts. That is a love vibration. Absolutely, Anna. This is where the winds can change and create a wave. Exactly. That's why what we're doing is so vitally important. Linda Goodman has recommended books in the back of her book, several by Edgar Casey. We lost our connection to Gaia. What is a stigmata? Tweety, don't let me forget that question. I want to get to the other question first, but don't let me forget. There's so much love in this life. 100%. That's why this group, in my humble opinion, is the best on all of TikTok. The soul group that we've got here, we've got hundreds of members. Every single person is so high vibrational and loving and compassionate and welcoming. It's just truly a fantastic group to be a part of. If our mind is closed, we can't see the unseen. Exactly. I love your energy. Well, thank you, my friend. I have seen the fairy in my dream. I was meant to find you today. I do not doubt that one bit, Lotus Flower. I believe in synchronicity, never in coincidence. Okay, so let's talk about the timing of the Age of Aquarius real quick. Here is my take and my understanding on this. Anybody who knows about astrology knows that even though there might be a hard date for a certain transit or cycle or whatever, such as the new moon. Today is the day of the new moon, right? You can say it is this date, such and such date, June 6th, at such and such time is when it's exact. But the truth of the matter is, you experience the energy of that new moon for a few days prior and a few days after. And in truth, we're working with the energy of that new moon for a period of 2 weeks. It is the same for every transit, depending upon how fast they move and everything. The energy can be a lot longer lasting. When we're talking about something on a grand scale, like an age, this is something that lasts thousands of years. So even though there might be a set date of when you're 100% in the Age of Aquarius, welcome Brock, and you're no longer in the Age of Pisces at all, there's still a long period of time where those energies are intermingling and mixing. I firmly believe, based on especially Vedic astrology, that there is a period of 300 years that overlaps during the end of a major age and the beginning of the next age. 150 years is with the old age prevailing and the new age beginning to filter into it until that 150 year mark, and then the new age's energy takes over, and then it prevails for 150 years as the old age wanes, if that makes sense. And I believe about 150 years ago we entered that point. And now we are at the point to where the Age of Aquarius, the energy is beginning to prevail. The reason I say that is not just based on astrology, it's based on observation. If you look back at history, at what began happening about 150 years ago, things changed dramatically. Look at how much our world has changed in 100 years. One person has invented almost all of our modern day technology. Everything from alternating current to the radio to x-ray to cellular technology, wireless broadcasting of energy, and hundreds of more over 100 years ago. One person. That is the Age of Aquarius. And it wasn't just Nikola Tesla, by the way. There was a wave of souls that started being incarnated about 150 years ago. People such as Edgar Cayce, right? Edgar Cayce changed the world with his energy in a very Aquarian way. He could have gotten filthy rich from his God-given gifts and talents, but he did not. He only wanted to help people. He was a true humanitarian. Very Aquarian energy. The same way with Nikola Tesla. Aquarius is all about electricity, innovation, invention, technology, all of those air things, right? All of that has just exploded in the last 100 years. In the span of one human lifetime, we went from horse-drawn carriages and candlelight to supercars, carrying around a supercomputer in their pocket, nanotechnology, and spaceflight in the span of one human lifetime. That is the effect of the age of Aquarius setting in. I'm not arguing that we are in the age of Aquarius, because I don't think we're 100% there yet, obviously, because the old world is still here. We still see war. We still see things like greed and corruption and all of the nastiness that has prevailed in the world for thousands of years. But that is becoming, it's coming to a head. Those things are being challenged now. People are starting to ask questions. People are starting to stand up, right? The truth is starting to come out. Aquarius is the water bearer, and the pitcher that she's dumping out on the land is the waters of truth. And the truth is being disclosed now, unlike it ever has, that we've ever seen before. That's why we see things like these pedophilia rings being exposed, and the U.S. government coming out after 100 years of silencing people, just saying, oh yeah, by the way, aliens are real. We've known about it all along. We have their technology. We actually have some of them in custody, and we are in communication with them. And on and on and on. All of these things, it's the truth coming out. That is Aquarius. It is beginning to prevail now. We're at that point to where the energy is starting to kick in and take over and pulling us out of the old world. And we're all here to make that shift right now. That's my personal understanding of the age of Aquarius. I know not everyone agrees with that, especially astrologers. Some people think that the age of Aquarius began at a very specific date in the 1970s. Some people believe that the age of Aquarius don't start for another 100 to 250 years. Again, it's hard to pin down very precisely such a big transit as an age. But I think all we really have to do is look around at the world around us, at how things are shifting and how quickly things are changing and how quickly the world is embodying the energy of the age of Aquarius, being pulled out of the old world. Guys, I apologize. I'm missing so many comments. I wish that I was able to keep up with everyone tonight. Wow, this explains me as an Aquarian. Freemason set the date. Exactly. How is that type of growth explained? Exactly. Right. The official narrative is that humanity now is at the peak of human accomplishment. We are the pinnacle. And that, 10,000 years ago and before, we were all cave dwellers. And then we wandered out of the caves after the Ice Age began to end. We started banging rocks together and created a wheel. And then in very, very short time went from that to the greatest architectural achievement the world has ever seen in the Great Pyramid. Right? First of all, that is a whole other topic, but the official narrative of human history is bogus. It does not make sense. There is numerous cycles of the rise and fall of human civilization, and it is a natural cycle, and we are all a part of that. This is a pinnacle of human civilization. It is not the pinnacle. There have been many advanced civilizations before us, and many that were more advanced than we are today, such as the Atlanteans. Again, that's a whole another huge topic, one of my favorite things to discuss, but it's very timely because we are moving back into that energy, into the age of Aquarius. And so we're seeing more and more souls reincarnating now from that time. Edgar Casey said that from beginning in the 1950s up until now and continuing, that there will be a massive influx of souls from the Aquarian times, from the ancient civilization of Aquarius. And I think that that's pretty evident, really, if you really have eyes to see and you look at it. You sent me a stinging bee. That's pretty neat. I've never seen that one. The awakening energy is crazy. We're burning bright, and there is a war between benevolent and malevolent things. We're all about to be very busy. Indeed. People are being awakened. Sarge 5 says, thoughts on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Okay. I usually will not do this because this is a spirituality page, and all of my content is about spirituality. And this is a soul group, and we try to keep everything very upbeat, very positive, and high vibrational. But inevitably, things like this will come up because in the old world, in its death throes, by the way, there's a lot of strife. There's a lot of war. There's constant war and low vibrational negative things that are trying with all that they have to hold their footing in the world, because those are things of the past and they're on their way out and they don't want those things to happen. So normally I will not talk about politics, and I won't talk about things like this for those reasons. I don't really mind giving my opinion on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It will invariably upset some, right? I'm not here to make everybody happy. And I know that that comes off as kind of crass. But all I can do is give you my honest feelings and thoughts on the topic. And they are this. The United States is a massive conglomeration of entities, primarily corporations, that have been sustained for the last 70 or 80 years, primarily through mass consumption and war. If it was not for constant mass consumption and constant war, the United States would not be where it is today. We have pretty much been at a non-stop state of war for 70 years. And the main reason for that is because it's good for the economy. I know that it's terrible. I don't believe that. I don't think it's good. I disagree with everything that war stands for. But whenever you go to war, people have to make tanks. They have to make ammunition. They have to make implements of war. A lot of people get jobs. A lot of people make money that way. A lot of massive corporations make billions and billions of dollars off of war. This conflict is driven primarily by that. The same thing with the conflict in the Ukraine. And I honestly believe all war is wrong, right? I'm not going to say this side is right, this side is wrong, because I think that it's all wrong. But I am not somebody who is going to buy into the official narrative and say that we should back Israel regardless of her actions and the things that are carried out in the name of Zionism, because some terrible things have happened. The Palestinians have been there for thousands and thousands of years. Less than 100 years ago, we decided to carve out a large swath of land and return it to Israel. And in doing so, we forcefully caused untold amounts of people to be uprooted, to move, become a part of a nation that was just created out of thin air and that they didn't have any say so in. And there has been a nonstop war going on over that stretch of land ever since then. And that's what this is all about. The reason it is coming to light right now is because of a little known prophecy having to do with Judaism that is known by all of the Abrahamic faiths. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all are aware of the red heifer prophecy, mainly because the Israelites believe, Judaism teaches, that the time that they sacrifice the 10th red heifer will usher in and bring about the rebuilding of the third temple. And the third temple to Judaism means they've taken back the Temple Mount from Islam, which means massive, wide-scale war in World War III, right? So a lot of people don't want that to happen, but Israel has been pushing for that sacrifice. They actually have 3 red heifers in their possession right now, provided by the United States. And there have been talks about making preparations for that 10th and final sacrifice to fulfill this prophecy. And many believe that it could usher in the apocalypse, right? Just because it would mean Islam going to war with Judaism, which would mean Judaism going to war with Islam and Christianity being sucked into that. Everyone just going to war with everybody, right? Over a tiny little piece of land in the desert known as the Temple Mount. That's what it's all about. And this all has its roots in Zionism. And some terrible, terrible things have been carried out under that banner, just like Christianity, right? Very few religions can claim to be clean of anything like this. I dare not even mention the terrible atrocities that have been carried out in the name of Christianity over the last 2,000 years. Horrendous things, right? And this war, this conflict between Palestinians and Israel is no different. So that's as much as I'm probably willing to go into that topic, but that is my honest feelings and thoughts on it. Now let me try to catch back up. No, I'm an astrologer and 200% agree with that. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Hello, Toddy. How are you, my friend? Anna says, I feel the shift very strongly. It is increasing very rapidly. I will say that. It is increasing very rapidly. The truth bearers. The terracotta warriors are pretty amazing too. Eyes on Mart said, I prayed to God for help from people who understand, and here I come across your page. My friend, thank you so much for sharing that comment. I truly hope that you stick around and become a permanent fixture of our soul group community here. We talk about just about anything under the sun having to do with spirituality, but the energy here is for real. It is very high vibrational, very loving, very understanding and compassionate. And all of the hundreds of members that we have in the soul group all have different knowledge, different experience, and different skill sets than I have. So the things that I don't know or haven't experienced, somebody out there has that. And everybody is very welcoming, very willing, and even eager to help out somebody, especially having to do with spirituality. So you have stumbled across a fantastic group of people. Anna says, my dream now is to sit down with Casey, Tesla, and Terrence Howard and have a great conversation. I I don't know. I don't even know who my top three would be. That would be huge for me. But yeah, that would be amazing. I'm sure you are a reincarnation of a very spiritual being. Well, thank you, my friend. That's very kind of you. Hang on, I'm having to prove I'm not a robot. Okay. They follow the Talmud, not the Torah. Yeah, and that's basically just commentary and speculation on the scripture, and yet they follow it as if it were scripture. We learn about this in the Mormon religion too. I'm so far behind on my comments, Seer and Sage. If you don't mind, could you tell me what specifically, what part I was talking about that you said you learned within the Mormon religion? I'm so far behind now, I'm not sure exactly what that was referring to. Still going on in the name of Christianity. Yeah, excellent point, Jennifer. Not just that what has happened in the past, but is still continuing to go on to this day. It's good to be here, Jennifer. I have been absent for a time. I've been on and off. My live schedule has been terrible in this last couple of months, and I do apologize for that. I've been building a bedroom onto our house, and it has been quite the undertaking. I literally cut down some trees, milled them into lumber, planed them, joined them, sawed them, and used them to build a house almost entirely single handedly. And it was amazing to be able to do that, but it was a tremendous amount of work. And it's taken up a lot of my time. So, unfortunately, that has pulled me away from my true calling and being here with you guys every day. So, that's probably a lot of it. But it's done. As of today, that edition is complete. And now I can get back on schedule, and you guys will be seeing a whole lot more of me. And I very much look forward to that. Can we all get together for a barbecue, sound bath, or something? I would absolutely love that. Trying to get caught back up with you guys. Oh, the heifer prophecies. Okay. I, at one point or another, spent time in pretty much every flavor of Christianity. And it was not by my choosing, for the most part. I grew up in foster care from about the age of 7 or 8 until I was, an adult. And we went from house to house to house. Every single foster home that we went to would be a different religion than the one before. Usually some form of Protestant Christianity, but not always. And I know that that probably sounds terrible, but I'm grateful for it because it has shaped me into the person that I am today and exposed me to a whole lot that normally I would not have been exposed to had I not been in foster care being bounced from home to home. So I was exposed early on to a whole wide swath of many different things. I did spend some time in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I was just kind of curious what you're talking about there. The red heifer prophecy, that one doesn't really surprise me very much. They're very prophecy oriented, very into preparedness and those sorts of things. So I was raised Southern Baptist and quickly learned how awful it actually was. Also, many around your age are gifted with wisdom beyond your years. Well, thank you, Star Muse. I know you're not talking about just me specifically, but I will take that as quite the compliment, my friend. Thank you. Loving all these new friends coming in. I agree 100%, Beth. I'm loving it. Welcome, Tess. Hello, Angie. It was really beautiful and lovely to see. I really like the wood staining. Well, thank you, Toddy. Yeah, the room turned out amazing. It was a tremendous amount of work. I'm glad it's over with. I have never heard of the red heifer prophecy. Um, it is one of the oldest prophecies within Judaism. Without going too in depth, basically there was a prophecy given that in a roundabout way, the sacrifice of the 10th red heifer, under very strict criteria, would bring about the Messiah. And mainstream Judaism believes they are still awaiting the Messiah. They do not recognize Yeshua as the Messiah. Most of them actually consider him to be a false prophet. And so there's a whole lot of criteria that has to be met for a red heifer. Because obviously there's millions of red heifers in the world, right? But they have to be pure. They can never have had done any physical work or labor in their entire life. If a yoke was so much as placed on their neck, they are completely disqualified. If more than 3 hairs anywhere on their body are of different color than red, they are disqualified. If more than 2 hairs within a certain amount of space is a color other than red, they are disqualified. On and on and on, right? I don't want to go too far into that. But it's very, very rare for a red heifer to be found that is seen as pure under Judaic law in order to fulfill this criteria. And then it has to be sacrificed by the priesthood of Judaism and offered up to the God, right? And this has already happened 9 times. And the prophecy goes that when it happens the 10th time, the Messiah will make themselves known. And somewhere along the lines, this has evolved into, well, the Temple of Jerusalem has been destroyed, right? Twice already. It was destroyed once. It was rebuilt. It was destroyed again in 70 AD and has never been rebuilt since then, right? And so, by their thinking and logic, in order for that to happen, then the temple will be rebuilt. The third temple period will come about, and then that sacrifice will usher in the Messiah. But because they won't build the third temple just anywhere, they want to build it on their most sacred holy land, which is the Temple Mount, which Judaism, Christianity, and Islam have all been fighting over this mountain, this hill in the desert, for 2,000 years. Millions and millions of people have lost their lives fighting over this one little stretch of desert. The entire Crusades, that's what it was over, right? And so, by trying to fulfill this prophecy, it's very likely to start World War III. And that's what the real concern over this war starting up with Palestine and Israel, especially with Iran trying to get involved in those sorts of things. Wow, sounds complicated. Yeah, it's definitely complicated. What's up, random black guy? I love the name. Um, I always, by the way, this is completely off topic, but I call myself on my live all the time the random stranger on the internet. So maybe we're kin somehow. So many are born knowing. Hello, my friend, the unspoken in the house. Thank you for that, JC. I appreciate you. Okay, I just realized I got sucked way off down on a tangent answering the one question, or it wasn't a question, rather. I was talking about my view on the age of Aquarius and timing and where we're at with that. There was another one. I told somebody to remind me because I would forget. They asked a very pointed question, and I was going to answer it, but I forgot what it was. So if you're still in here and still want your question answered, let me know because I don't remember what the heck that was. Watching a more official is some interesting genuine information. Oh, stigmata. Okay, thank you, Tweety. Stigmata is a recognized miracle that might not be politically correct within Catholicism, but is essentially a recognized miracle within Catholicism to where individuals have spontaneously experienced markings of a crucifixion, basically, that is supposed to mimic the crucifixion or crucifixion of Jesus, with nail holes in the hands and on the feet and spontaneous bleeding from holes that don't seem to even be there. And this has been recorded a whole bunch of times. It's even been studied somewhat scientifically, even though it was under the very watchful eye of the Catholic Church. So who knows how truly scientific that was. But there definitely seems to be something to that. And I think there is some strong soul tie connections for those individuals with Christ and the original followers. That's another thing, by the way, that Edgar Cayce mentioned would happen during this period of time, is that a lot of people who lived incarnations alongside Yeshua were reincarnating now to be a part of the ending, the closing out of this cycle, and the entrance of the new age, of the age of Aquarius. So I don't know how in depth or how much detail you want me to talk about with stigmata. It's not really something I have a tremendous wealth of knowledge about. I find it interesting and intriguing. There's actually quite a few things like that that have been studied by the Catholic Church that I find pretty interesting. But whether that is something as a result of a past life soul tie, or it is the result of belief, who knows? I think either one is entirely possible. If you have strong enough beliefs about anything, it can become a reality. Absolutely can be. Yep, here we are. 100%. For sure, Anna. No, Star Muse, that one's new to me. At least it's not ringing any bells. On the Bloodstone. Feel free to share that information, though, because I'm not sure. Okay. So, now that I've finished whatever that all of that was that just came out. Hello, Arlena. Whatever you guys have. If you have any topics you want to discuss or any questions you want to ask or whatever it is, now's the time to do that. Just let me know what you guys want to talk about. I am going to pull an oracle card for the collective. If you guys are interested in that, stick around. I think their translation was wrong. Oh, okay, Star Muse. I know what you're talking about now. It said that Jesus' blood fell on the grass and it wrapped it up. Hello, Kat. Good to see you. And yes, I agree with you 100%. That is my favorite. That is my favorite thing to talk about all the time. All right, let's do it. Anna said a card pull would be great. Okay. Let me clear the energy real quickly. That's why it's known as the healers. Okay. So while I'm doing this, a little tidbit of information I came across the other day I want to share with you guys. And you guys might have already known this. I did not know. This is off topic, but that's okay. We started out talking about astrology, so I'm going to call this as a continuation of that. Most people have heard that in Nazi Germany, the Nazis were very heavily into the occult. Sorry guys, the sage is right up on the screen there. They were. Hitler was actually a part of a main black magic lodge in Germany. I knew all of this. The new bit of information I did not know is that Hitler also had a personal astrologer that he used to plan his blitzkrieg. All of his battle tactics, the timing of his attacks, was all directed using astrology. I did not know that. Why am I sharing that information with you? That's not something to use as an accolade or teach the the usefulness of astrology, right? Let's not use astrology to plan wars. That's misusing astrology. But it is an interesting tidbit of historical information. And the United States also had their own private astrologer that they would use to combat the astrologer that was under the direction of Hitler. I needed a good cleansing. Well, I think we're all good and cleansed now. Rasputin. He still speaks in German. Okay. Alright, before I get going here, I'm going to take a moment to center myself. So did Ronald Reagan. Yeah, I knew that. Hello, Cynthia. They're with you now. Thank you for that. Think twice. Alright, everybody. I'm just pulling a card for the collective real quick. A message from Spirit and our best and highest good. Get these good and shuffled up real quick. For anybody who's curious, this is from the Lantern Oracle, and it is absolutely fantastic. I love this deck. It's my favorite I've ever had for Oracle cards. Thank you for the rose, my friend. I appreciate you. Okay. In the world. Okay, you give me just a second. I've never had that happen before. Okay, so three cards popped out. Three. I usually read the entire guidebook for each of the cards that comes out because it explains so much more than what I can do in here. But there's three of them, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to read all three of these to you. But apparently, somebody here or all of us is in need of radical shifts through radical honesty, radical self acceptance, and radical self love. I've never seen that happen. I wasn't even aware that three cards in this entire Oracle deck started out with radical. That is definitely a first for me. Yeah, exactly, Arlena. My thoughts exactly. Never seen that. Okay. So, for anybody who is curious, before I get started reading these, I will post these to the Inner Circle group on Telegram if you guys want to go through and read these for yourself. Definitely a message for somebody. That doesn't happen on accident. It's not a coincidence. This is definitely synchronicity and a message. Okay? Alright, let me turn this around so you guys can see what I'm holding up. And I will try my best to hold radical honesty steady for you so you can gaze at this while I read it. To believe in the facade is to suffocate in the armor of alienation, self-defeat, and self-denial. The mother warrior... Oh, okay, I already got covered in truth bumps. The spirit is definitely moving through me. The mother warrior assures you that it is okay and not at all a failure or flaw to experience disappointments, betrayals of the heart, and confusion. Rather, this is what it is to be transparently and universally human. She encourages you to look candidly at your current limitations and past the regrets and the things that you wish were not part of your character or life story. The mother cautions you against continuing to deny any unwanted reality in your life and your uncomfortable feelings about it. It is not okay to ignore what does not authentically fit you, that creates unease or any kind of self-compromise or incongruency in your life. While denial seems to be an easy and simple solution to what evokes aversion or discomfort in us, it is not. To maintain the ongoing armor or facade of denial leads to a life on the battlefield of perpetual deceit, manipulation, strategy, and estrangement from ourselves and others. As time continues to go by, what is avoided or denied grows into an ever harder and larger landmine to navigate. While honesty can hurt and be brutal in the moment of disclosure, the acute pain of it is always temporary. True, a rough patch of disruption, tension, and chaos typically follows moments of radical honesty, but it does eventually dissipate. The turmoil is never the life sentence that avoidance, denial, and deception are. If and when some sort of upheaval does ensue, please understand that this is necessary and is for your long-term benefit. This process unhooks you from whatever dishonest armor and lifestyle had distorted and blocked you from your spirit self. The releasing of armor you had lived with for so long that it became a part of you can hurt as it breaks away. Detox of any kind is never pretty, comfortable, or pleasant. Nonetheless, it will pass like the tide and leave an invaluable life-propelling lesson upon your shore. Now that every time you surrender to tumultuous feelings, you are releasing the heavy armor of deceits that are no longer yours to carry, Let the uncomfortable emotions flow, all of their unpleasantness, completely through and out of you. Whenever they rise up in the well of your being, release them with self-love, acceptance, and appreciation for what is no more. Did you guys hear that? Let me read that one more time. Whenever they rise up in the well of your being, release them with radical self-love and acceptance for what is no more. Wow. This is a very, very loud message. This is a very loud message from Spirit. I hope you guys are absorbing this. It's kind of choking me up a little bit. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just getting covered in waves of Spirit and truth bumps on reading this. Okay. Again, I will post these on the Telegram group, and you guys can read all of this for yourself if you want. Okay, now let's look at radical self-love. I love that. That is, I'm still mind blown that 3 radical cards came out at the same time. I didn't even know there was 3 of those in there. This is what is left of me after shadow work. That card, Radical Honesty, that was talking about one of my favorite topics to discuss, and that is alignment. Moving into alignment with our own truth. That is the most powerful thing we can ever do in our life, is be true to ourselves, to our soul, and moving into alignment, stripping away all of that which is not in alignment with ourselves. And each time we do that, we embody our essence and our truth a little bit more and vibrate a little bit higher. 100% think twice. Okay. Without further ado, radical self-love. We can only receive love to the extent that we can unconditionally love and live the truth of ourselves. The world and people around us mirror our relationship with self. All of the ways we mistakenly seek and rely on love from others in the world is made of the need to be in harmonious breath with the unconditional love that we are, in essence. True self is the absolute transparent connection with the pure love that Spirit Self is. The self-love to be accessed within is unlimited and something that none of us needs ever go without or be disconnected from. When we turn away from the unconditional love that we are and have to give and receive, it becomes suppressed energy that burns unhealthily. This is what hurts us and leaves us hungry for what is actually freely available to us in abundance. Nonetheless, what is our loving radiance gets unnaturally buried in the darkness of our inattention. This can only have adverse effects. To deny and subdue the radiant love, generosity, and kindness of who and what we are resonates with the following quote from the Gospel of Thomas. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. Until we embody just how radical... Can you guys see that? I don't know how well that's showing up on camera, but I am just absolutely covered in truth bumps reading this. Okay. Let me compose myself again. Until we embody just how radical and pure our self-love is, we are not entirely open to receive or vibrationally match to such unconditional love from others to the universe. The crone has shown up to assure you that there is nothing that you have to do, be, or become in order to be worthy of unconditionally loving yourself just as you are. Just as there is nothing you have to do, be, or become in order to be worthy of breathing. All that is required is that you allow your breath to continue. It knows how. You do not need to do anything more. This is the same with the unconditional self-love within you. It knows how to be the living breath of you in the world. Just as you breathe, you are love. You are love. Spirit self is love. Love is the only thing that is real. Anything less than love is not real. Radical self-love lets all the illusions go by, burning its brilliant light right through them. To bring forth what is within you is to breathe as the love that you are. Wherever the energy is, and whatever we feel blissfully compelled to do in a state of self-love, we breathe our inner self into the world. Okay, there's more, but I'm going to, for sake of time, I'm going to leave that one there. I will post all of this on Telegram, guys. Okay, and then radical self-acceptance. Let me get to this one. Okay. You are perceived the way you perceive yourself. The relationship you have with yourself informs how you relate to others. The way you see yourself affects how you perceive others and assume how they see you. The expectations you place on yourself are reflected in the disappointments you experience from the judgments that you make upon others. When we only accept the best parts of ourselves, we mirror such conditional acceptance towards others and the world. Drawing this card calls for a time of deep reflection. List all of the things about yourself that you have ever wished to change. What was it about yourself that you were rejecting and why? Where did that story come from that suggested something about you was wrong, not good enough, or needed to change? Whose belief was that before it was yours? As you meditate on the answers to these questions, is it negative and oppressive energy that comes up for you? If so, this is okay. Breathe. When you are ready, proceed with the following writing prompts. Write any and all of the negative, oppressive energy that comes up for you. Take a moment to reflect on all that you are now, how far you have come, and all that you have achieved. Write down all of the things that you value about yourself. Make a note of any aspects of yourself that you still struggle to accept. Every quality has more than one purpose. How have the previous negative or unwanted qualities helped you to survive or serve you in some way? Write a letter. Okay. If anyone here is doing shadow work, pay close attention to this part. Write a letter of gratitude to your shadow parts, letting them know you appreciate how they have served you and stood by you the only way they knew how. Take them into your heart as they are and celebrate them. As you do this, notice whether any powerful or positive energy comes up for you. If so, good. Breathe. Breathe deeply into it. Allow all of the positive, compassionate, and loving energy to marinate through every atom of your body. To complete the healing process, make it a daily habit to give attention to all that you are as opposed to what you are not. Man, I was not prepared for that. Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank you all for sticking around for that. I really appreciate you. These cards are so right on with where I am in my journey. Thank you for sharing that, Greg. I hope that truly helps. Can you hold up the Oracle box, please? Yes, one moment. Let me revert to screen again. And as you can probably tell from just those few cards, This deck is profound. This is an amazing deck. Definitely powerful cards tonight, Star Muse. Okay, I hope you got that. Alright, everybody. It is that time of the night to where I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I got some resting to do after all of the work that I have put myself through over the last several months. I'm very pleased to be back. I can feel the energy of our group rising very powerfully, and I'm very excited about that and all of the things that the future holds for us. Guys, take advantage of this new moon tonight. I definitely encourage you guys to set the intentions for that which you plan on, where you plan on going. And I know that that's a little bit different than what I would normally recommend on a new moon, but specifically for the energy that is in the air right now, I think that this is a very powerful time to do so. It should be today. That's awesome, Star Muse. I'm excited for you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of this. Oh, Telegram. Eyes on Mart. And this goes for anybody. If you're not a part of the Telegram Inner Circle group and you would like to be so, first you have to download the Telegram app and then get it set up. Once it's downloaded and set up, go to my website, magirising.com, and towards the top of the page there's a whole list of all of the social media. They're just icons, right? They show a little icon for each, and the Telegram icon, if you click on it, it will automatically add you to the Inner Circle group. What that is for more connection. If you want to be more connected with the soul group, with this beautiful community, on Telegram, you can do so 24/7. You can talk to any member on that group individually or as a group. You can share pictures, videos, entire PDF books. You can do voice messages. You can do video messages. You can even do lives on there. There's all sorts of things that app gives us the ability to do. It's not nearly as limited as TikTok. So that is a great way to stay connected if you guys are interested in that. We're always looking to expand more into the Inner Circle. So if you're wanting to be a part of that and you have problems, just send me a message and I will do my best to get you added to that group. All right. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to take a brief moment to thank each and every one of you for this beautiful gift that you are giving me by enabling me to fulfill my calling. By sharing your presence and your energy and attention with me, you are giving me a platform to pursue my calling. And that is as beautiful a gift as I can envision. And I am eternally grateful for each and every one of you for that blessing. Thank you so much for being here and for making this beautiful community what it is. I love each and every one of you guys. Yes, Jody, I will download this Soul Group live tonight and I will have it uploaded to the YouTube channel. Thank you all so much. I hope everyone has a fantastic night and I will see you tomorrow. Have a good night.